Hello, friends, and welcome to A Deck of All Jacks. I'm your host, Peter. I have today with me my friend Ben. If you're new to this podcast, as I am too, as this is our very first episode, let me explain to you the basic premise of A Deck of All Jacks. We were never meant to become jacks of all trades. Rather, we were meant to rely on the people around us to be a deck full of jacks. Each person a jack of maybe a couple trades at best. On this show, I invite ordinary people on and I ask them, what are you most passionate about? What do you know the most about? Topics will range from academic topics to culture to the workforce to Christianity and beyond. I hope you walk away from this show with a handful of new information you didn't know before. Let's get into our show. Hello, Ben. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Peter. Had a pretty light day before now, so in the right mood.
Wonderful, wonderful. You're my very first guest ever. I chose you because you have a wonderful voice for radio and for podcasting and hopefully a good face for one too. We have many different topics to go over, your different interests, your different specialties and such. But before we get into that, how did we know each other, Ben?
Peter, we met each other at a Bible study hosted by a mutual friend of ours, and that slowly evolved into a fellowship and an established men's group.
Yep. And we are now close friends as a result of this. Before we get into the biggest thing I want to talk about, which is your love of geology and the earth, first off, let's go into a little bit of background for you. You grew up in southern Illinois, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I always ask you, and you say, "Oh, I'm from St. Louis," and then you end up being more from the Illinois side of the border. But what was it like growing up in southern Illinois, kind of being in St. Louis's shadow across the border? What was your kind of childhood like?
My childhood was very carefree and relaxed.
Okay.
Being across the river, because that's the border between Missouri and Illinois, was quite nice because that kept us away from the busyness and craziness of the city, but still had it accessible to us to go to things like concerts or Major League Baseball, things like that.
Okay.
So my town was pretty small at the time. I believe it was 12,000 people. It's since grown since I've left. I think it's at 24,000 or something right now, so a lot bigger than when I was living there.
And is this the Missouri River that separates the two, or which river is this?
This would be the mighty Mississippi.
Oh, okay. So St. Louis is on the other side, the west side of Mississippi, right?
That's correct.
And that's why the arch is there, so that
As the gateway to the west.
gateway to the west. Okay, but you were still in the old world. You were still on the east side of Mississippi.
It used to be the frontier way back then, but yes, the old world, if you'd like to call it.
Okay. And we will be getting to the Gateway Arch later on in the episode. But before we get into that eventually, I do want to talk about what is perhaps your greatest love, at least is your job and something you're very passionate about, which is geology. So I have a list of different subtopics that I'll be referring to as we kind of go about. My first major thing I want to ask you is why you got into geology. Was this a childhood passion? Was this something that developed later in life?
The big defining moment was Science Olympiad.
The Science Olympiad.
The Science Olympiad. Now, there were a couple, trendings towards that way while I was growing up. I actually was born in Georgia, so we had a lot of outdoors and, playing outside in Georgia with the very famous clay and all that. So
Okay, sure.
That fascinated me as a child. We had small creeks and streams because we lived more out in the country in Georgia. So I would go around walking through the woods, picking up rocks that I all found interesting. Normal little kid stuff. But that further developed into a love for geology when I joined my high school's Science Olympiad team. Science Olympiad, if you're not familiar with it, is a high school and middle school level competition. My town only had high school level, where you would assemble a team of 15 students, freshman to senior, and they would all compete in various events. There were 5 main topics, I believe, in Science Olympiad.
Okay.
There was biology, earth and space science, chemistry and physics, and engineering, and nature and inquiry of science. There it is.
Okay.
So everybody on the team would have different strengths, and they would compete in 3 to 4 events across the varying subjects as they found it interesting or as their skills suited them. My very first year, I was on the junior varsity team, so it was low stakes for me.
Okay.
And I was able to try out a variety of events across the different categories and really fell in love with the earth science events.
And so you said that the Earth and the space parts were grouped together, right?
That's correct.
So were you asked about like moon rocks or only rocks on Earth?
No, the Earth and space was not crossed over in any of the individual events. They were just put together in the same category. So, despite being very closely related in Science Olympiad and academia, I have no interest in space science or astronomy.
Did you learn anything about like asteroids or rocks beyond the atmosphere, or?
Not really.
Okay. So then when it comes to the rocks here on Earth, I've had this explained to me multiple times, and I forget every time the difference between metamorphic, igneous,
Igneous.
not Ignatius.
Not
That's
Ignatius.
a couple saints named Ignatius, but the rocks are igneous, and then sedimentary.
That's correct.
What's the actual difference in the simplest, most easy to understand terms between those three?
So, you've just listed off, the three most basic categories of rock.
Okay.
And all of them can turn into each other from various transformational processes, but the best way to think about it is that rocks start out as igneous when molten material, either magma when it's underground or lava at the surface, cools down and hardens.
Okay.
After that, it can be eroded by wind or water on the surface, and then when those little particles get stuck together, that becomes a sedimentary rock.
Okay.
Or when the still igneous rock gets buried down and compressed by layers and layers and feet of other rocks over millions of years, and all of the heat that entails being so far down next to the core or maybe another magma body, that changes it but does not completely melt it to become a metamorphic rock.
So metamorphic, it metamorphosizes under the ground from all the pressure and magma and stuff. And sedimentary is just sitting there, and it changes, or how does sedimentary work again?
Sedimentary comes from sediments. So the sediments are the small little pieces that get eroded off other rocks, and then they just get stuck together through various processes. Sometimes it's just, the weight of other rocks on top of them, although not as deep as metamorphic.
Okay.
And sometimes there's various filler materials that come in and cement it all together.
And then which rock is the shiniest, generally speaking, of the three?
I would tend to say metamorphic rocks.
Okay.
They get a very nice sheen when they get compressed, as the minerals and grains in them align themselves to be all in the same direction because of all that pressure pressing down. And then that creates a very nice glint if you have it at the right angle.
So the metamorphic is the one with like the stripes.
Yes, if you see a rock that has that, that's a good indication that it's metamorphic, although not always.
And you said these are the three most basic types of rocks. Are there like ones on the fringes, like subclasses and stuff, or is it all, every rock is those three rocks?
Technically, every rock is one of those three.
Okay.
But there are, many, many subclasses for each of the three. There's some rocks that blur the barriers depending on who you're talking to. Volcaniclastic rocks are a very good example.
What kind?
Volcaniclastic.
That's a great name. That's really cool.
So
what's volcaniclastic?
That would be rocks that erupt from that molten material that we were talking about and then get pressed together on the surface. Very similar to how the sediments would during the formation of a sedimentary rock.
Okay, that's very cool. And you have here with us a rock.
Yes, I do.
This podcast is both video and audio, so if you're video, you can just see it. If it's audio, can you describe the rock to us, Ben?
Yes, I can. So I am holding a nice chunk about the size of the palm of my hand that is a mottled brown and greenish teal color with a little bit of gray.
Okay, and what is this rock?
This rock is chrysocolla.
Chrysocolla.
Chrysocolla is very important to the state of Arizona as it is a copper ore.
So you have a copper ore with you right now?
I have a copper ore with me right now, and I would like to give it to you.
Whoa.
So you can add it to your set.
Oh my gosh, I did not know you were going to do that. That is crazy. This is so cool. Yes, it's very pretty blue with some brown on it as well.
You may recognize this color from
The Statue of Liberty, which is copper?
which is copper.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's been oxidized to have that color instead of the nice, bronze, shiny, orange-brown color that we're all used to.
Wow. I did not ask Ben to bring any props, but he suggested doing so, and I'm very happy because this is... is this hard to get? Is this like, or is this just if you know the right places, you can get it pretty easily?
If you know the right places and you're in the right spot, you can get it pretty easy.
Like from the ground or from vendors?
That one came from the ground, but you can also buy it from vendors.
Okay.
We happen to be in the right spot because we live in Arizona.
So like all around Arizona you can get copper, or?
Are you familiar with the 5 C's of Arizona, Peter?
I know that we're the copper state. The 5 C's, let me try to get this right. Copper, citrus, cattle, climate, and cotton. Did I say cotton already?
Yep.
I already said cotton.
You did not say cotton.
Okay.
That's the
I got all
one.
5. Beautiful. But you can just get copper literally anywhere, or?
No, you have to still be in the right spots, but it's far easier to get copper here than many other states.
Okay. And you work in a mine.
I work in a copper mine.
In the biggest copper mine in North America, if I'm correct.
Yes, it's a little bit of a debated title, but yeah.
With what other? So you're at Morenci Mine, correct?
That's correct.
What's the competing mine that is trying to take this title away from you guys?
Rio Tinto Kennecott Mine in Utah.
Okay.
They are the biggest by surface area of the mine. We are biggest by volume of material processed.
Okay. And I feel like that's what matters more is what you actually get from the ground, not the surface
I would
area.
agree, yeah.
Well, but when you say surface area, that includes like the tunnels? Or is there
No,
tunnels
no.
in these mines?
No, it does not include tunnels. It's just like, on if you were looking top down, how much area the mine covers.
Okay. So you are a legitimate miner. You do that as your job. What do you do at Morenci Mine? What is your work?
So, very roughly, my work is to help Morenci Mine understand hydrological conditions and install water wells for them.
What does hydrological mean?
Hydrological relates to anything water related.
Anything water related, including like rainfall? And
Including
stuff like that?
rainfall, yes.
Okay.
In this case, it's pretty much all groundwater.
Okay. Is Morenci getting all of its water from the ground, or is that just what you're in charge of?
They are getting a very good chunk of its water from the ground.
How much of our water, like when I turn on the tap, comes from the ground?
Very hard to say. It varies across the state,
Really?
but somewhere greater than 50%.
Really?
Yep,
And that's like still part of the water cycle where like it rains, becomes part of the ground.
that's right.
Is it just it's easier to collect from the ground than when it's coming, from the sky?
Well, we don't have very much rain from the sky.
Yeah, that's true. A desert is less than 10 inches of precipitation a year. Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
10, okay.
Yep.
Getting back to Morenci though, so when you go, I know you do a lot of different things in the mine. What are some of like the most common tasks that you're given when you're deployed out to Morenci?
A very common task that I have is to do core logging. So
Core logging, what is that?
I work very closely with several drilling companies, and they will drill a very deep hole and take out chunks of rock that are about that big around.
Is that like a baseball, roughly?
Yes, roughly baseball diameter.
Yeah.
Still intact in about 10 feet segments. And it's my job to look at those and describe the rocks that are in that core.
Why? Why is that important?
It's important for a couple of reasons. Different rocks have different hydrological characteristics, which means that they can store and transport different amounts of water at different speeds. So, if we have a rock that can't store a lot of water, we will not want to install a well there because the well will not be able to pull a lot of water from the ground.
Is all the stuff you do ultimately for the wells, or is the wells just one part of your job?
It is all for the wells. The mine has many other considerations, but I work for a water company.
Okay, so because when I think of a well, I think of like an old English village. You go to the well with a little covered thatched roof over it. You put the bucket down. You get what does a modern day well at a copper mine look like? I'm assuming it's quite different.
Not as different as you'd think. So,
Okay.
still that same hole. But instead of being bare or maybe just cobblestoned all the way down,
Okay.
we have this thing called casing that we put down, which is basically a large metal pipe. The very bottom portions of the pipe have slits in them to let water through.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the top, it's all, sealed off so that the water doesn't escape while it's going up the pipe. And then there's a very large pump in the well to pump all of the water up through the well.
So this is just in Super Mario, like the pipes vertical, essentially.
Yes.
But this is how you get the water. Okay. And then how does it get up again? Is it pressure or is it, there's no bucket, I'm assuming.
There's no bucket, no. Yes, it's a, turbine from the pump.
How deep are these wells?
The wells range depending on where you're at. In that part of the state, they can be between 800 and 1,500 feet.
That's like the smallest well. It's 800 feet down.
In Morenci, yeah, generally.
Because when people have like regular, like people who still use wells for well water these days, how deep are those like normal people wells?
Those would be maybe 100 feet max.
Okay, which is still deeper. I assumed it'd be like 30 feet or something. But
Well, so you have to be living in an area where that's possible.
mm-hmm.
Not everywhere is the water shallow enough to have a small well like that.
Okay.
So if you're living, high up in the mountains, you're not going to be able to do that because the water is several hundred feet down, like the mine is.
Do you know if there's anything about Arizona's climate that makes there be more groundwater than elsewhere? Do we have less groundwater because we have less rain?
We have generally deeper groundwater
Okay.
due to less rain and the fact that so much of our water production relies on that. So the more you take out, the lower it's going to be.
Okay, and we'll get to, I want to talk more about Arizona and water systems and potentially running out of water at some point. But getting back to your job, so you're helping, and you actually help construct the wells, right?
That's right, yeah. So one of my tasks was core logging. Another big one is doing supervision capabilities and checking to make sure that the designs my boss makes are constructed appropriately.
Okay.
So I'm there on the site working with the drillers while they are busy constructing the well, doing calculations for them, letting them know what they need to be doing, and taking photos to document the process.
Okay. And you were telling me one time about this little thing that you, I forget if it was like a camera or something, like this thing you put into the well, and then you and you had to bring it back out and it like broke or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
So we do put cameras down the well,
Okay.
but you may also be referring to a sounder or a
A
transducer.
sounder, yes. What is that again? Because that was wild when I first heard about it.
The way that I described it to Peter when I first told him about it is a screaming rope.
And that's all. That's the end of the podcast. No. What? How does the screaming? Does the rope itself scream? Does it have a screamer on it? Like.
The rope is attached to a screamer, but the real way that it works is that it is a plastic cable that has two very thin wires in it.
Mm-hmm.
At the very bottom of the cable is a piece of metal, so that when it touches water, it will complete the circuit, and then the current from one side will be able to pass through that, pass all the way back up, and make a noise.
Because water conducts electricity.
Yes.
Okay. So the screaming thing is the whole rope or just the top thing at the top of the rope?
Just the thing at the top, yeah. It's attached to a reel, and the alarm part is attached to the reel too.
And the screamer had broken, and you were complaining to me about that, right?
Yes, the metal part at the bottom had fallen off, so it was unable to complete the circuit, even if it had hit water.
Okay, so the screaming part was still fine.
The screaming part was still fine.
It just couldn't detect anything to scream about.
Correct.
Okay, very cool. What are some others when you're, which for context, Ben will just be like, I'm headed out to the mine tomorrow. I'll be gone for 10 days because it's a 10-day shift, or not shift, but
we call them hitches.
A 10-day hitch at the mine Morenci, working like decently normal shifts, at least for like construction and all that stuff.
Decently normal for the industry.
Yeah. But when you're sent out for 10 days at Morenci, what are some other jobs that you'll be given, different tasks?
So generally it's always to go sit on a particular rig and help the construction of a particular well. There's a lot of tasks involved in doing that. So you might be logging core while they're drilling the well. You might be taking water levels with the sounder to find out exactly where the water is. That will dictate how we're going to design the well and to what depth they need to drill it.
When you say rig, I'm imagining like an oil rig. Is that what? Okay.
You have the right picture in your mind.
Gotcha. So that sounds crazy and hopefully fun and interesting, and I'm sure many times tiring.
Challenging, but keeps me very, very engaged, and I quite enjoy the work.
Okay. And you've told me a bit about the town of Morenci and about its sister town right nearby. How would you describe these two little... And what's the name of the other one, and how would you describe them?
The other name is Clifton, and
Clifton,
they are directly next to each other. It's about a 6-minute drive between them, and you can see one from the other because it's up a hill.
Mm-hmm.
But the best way to imagine it is like very small company town.
Okay.
Everybody who lives in these two towns works for the mine, is married to somebody who works at the mine, or is the child of somebody who works at the mine. So everything in these towns depends on what's happening at the mine.
Morenci and Clifton.
Morenci and Clifton.
And what is the food scene like in Morenci, Clifton, in the greater Morenci, Clifton metropolitan area?
Very poor. Okay. There are less than 10 restaurants.
Total?
Total.
Okay.
And a good chunk of them are bad. There is also only one chain between both towns, and that is a Starbucks.
A Starbucks?
Yes.
Not a McDonald's, not a Subway. Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Is that just because the workers need coffee in the morning? Is that the idea?
No, I think it's solely due to the fact that it's in a new development building.
Okay.
Specifically with money allocated from the mine to create a nice community recreation area.
This is a true company town.
It's a true company. Well, not true, and we'll get into that in a minute. But the Starbucks is located within the company gymnasium.
Okay, yes. So I need more. Why is it not a true company town? What is a true company town? Why is this company have its own gym?
So a true company town is a town where all of the buildings are built and owned by the company, and the people who live in that town work for the company. They rent from the company, and they have to buy all their stuff from the company store. So very frequently they would get wages that were like company credits that they could go spend there. A good example of this would be the LeClaire district where I grew up.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And there were a bunch of leftover buildings that had been repurposed. They had a one-room schoolhouse where I used to work. They had the baseball field for all of the company's kids. And then all of the houses in the district were houses where the workers used to work.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Do you know anything about the history of Fordlandia?
No, I do not.
So Fordlandia, Henry Ford, right? Founder of the Ford Motor Company, creates the assembly line, raging anti-Semite. There's a lot to say about Henry Ford, but one thing is that he needed rubber for his company. He needed to have a good supply of rubber coming into the country, and he said, well, what better way to get a steady supply of rubber than to create my own company town in the middle of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, right? So he goes to Brazil. He creates a town called Fordlandia, which sounds like an amusement park, but is in fact a small, company town.
And quite out of place in the Amazon.
Yes. He builds like a rubber processing plant and hires all these native Brazilians to harvest rubber from the trees. Fordlandia does not go well for a couple of reasons. One is just like the rubber trade and the industry shifted eventually and ended up not being profitable. But Ford was a man very proud of American customs, for better and for worse. He very much wanted his company town to be like a mid-sized, small American town. So he forced these Brazilians to go square dancing because he had met his wife square dancing and was very fond of it.
Well, I have a funny story about the square dancing too.
Then we'll get into that. But the Brazilians hated square dancing. It was not their style. Ford is also a man of great efficiency. So he did not believe in, sitting down with your buddies at like a restaurant for lunch and like just talking away and ordering food and stuff. He wanted them to have a cafeteria because the cafeteria is just the food version of the assembly line. And because of all this, and because he forced them to work a 9 to 5, whereas Brazilian culture at the time was much more about taking a nap in the middle of the day. He wanted them to like clock in, clock out, all these things. Eventually, they hated it so much working there, they revolted. They threw out his special like Fordian police, and they were eventually able to reclaim Fordlandia shortly afterwards, after getting kicked out and having their cafeteria smashed to bits. But that is the brief history of Fordlandia. Eventually, did fail because of again shifts in the rubber industry. But with square dancing, what's your square dancing story?
Well, part of the reason why square dancing is so popular in the Midwest, where I grew up, was because of Henry Ford. And you previously mentioned that he was a huge anti-Semite.
Yeah.
Henry Ford promoted square dancing in schools specifically to stop the cultural impact of the Jewish people.
Tell me more.
That's it.
Okay.
He's like, we need to have good, clean American values, square dancing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I did not know that.
But getting back to it, the reason Morenci is not that type of company town is the mine does own all of the buildings in Morenci.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Even the restaurants?
Even the restaurants.
Okay.
The company that owns the mines owns all of the buildings. Yeah. Sorry, owns all the buildings and the property. But they do lease it out to other businesses who rent from them. So in a company town, the mine would also own the business that people will be shopping at instead of just renting the land.
And you're not giving Morenci dollars.
No, you're given real American dollars. Good. And the mine actually encourages people to start their own businesses and other businesses to come in to make things better for the miners there.
Now, what is the best restaurant in the greater Morenci Clifton metropolitan area?
The best restaurant is Dina's Carinderia.
Okay.
It's a Filipino place, which is why I kind of butchered the pronunciation of that. But it's a Filipino Mexican fusion.
Really?
Yes.
That sounds really good.
It's absolutely delicious. I make sure to get it every time I go.
What's the best thing that you've had there?
This thing called a lumpia.
Okay.
It's pretty much an egg roll.
Okay. Very cool. I've tried to find Filipino food in Phoenix, and there are a few places. Have you ever heard of or been to Jollibee?
No, I have not.
The Jollibee is this fast food chain from the Philippines that has a few locations around America, mainly where there's like a large Filipino population. There's one in the Phoenix area, I believe, in Chandler. They have chicken, like fried chicken there. Mm-hmm. That's like decent. I liked it. Not so much as American fried chicken, but it was pretty close. They have like more Filipino-looking food, so they have this like egg noodle dish. They have ube, like McDonald's has the apple pie little things. They have ube, which is this like squash type thing that's popular in that area. And then instead of apple pie, you can get that. They have one of my favorite foods of all time, Filipino spaghetti, which I don't know if they have at this.
They do not have Filipino spaghetti there.
So, very brief history of the Philippines, right? People have been there for a long time. Eventually, the Spanish go and colonize them 500 years ago. America wins over the Philippines and then kind of crushes their rebellion movement during the Spanish-American War. So America is in control about 50 years until we actually liberate them from the Japanese. And then they get to be free and actually have their own country for the first time in forever. And what ended up happening was because of like the American influence and because of needing cheap supplies, I believe, during the war. Hot dogs became a bit of a thing there. And what you have today is Filipino spaghetti, which is regular spaghetti but 10 times better because you add in. First off, you do some ground beef, like a bolognese or whatever. Mm-hmm. You cut up full-on just hot dog chunks and put them into the spaghetti. You add a bit of sugar to it, which is something you're kind of supposed to do with spaghetti, at least according to The Godfather.
Even in the sauce, you have to add a little bit of sugar to your sauce.
They're adding also some soy sauce, some like fish sauce, I believe, as well.
Yep.
Which makes it taste really good. Definitely recommend it. It's a very if you got like young kids, it's like a very cost-effective, like delicious, like decently like loaded up with carbs and stuff food.
I believe you made a home version of this, didn't you?
I did, yes. I make it sometimes because it's, relatively easy and tastes amazing. So, I recommend Jollibee in Chandler. Okay. But that is Morenci. Anything else you want to say about the town of Morenci? Anything you want to point out?
The residents are very charming and welcoming, even if there is a small adjustment period.
Okay. And this is a town of how many people, roughly? I guess not including people like you who, like the permanent residents.
Permanent residents, yes. I believe Morenci is about 1,400 residents.
It's not bad. So, Ben, is Arizona running out of water?
Very tricky question. Okay. If posed yes or no, I would say yes.
Really?
The big thing at the moment is there's a huge fight over Colorado River water.
Okay.
And we are currently losing that.
Who are we fighting with?
Nevada, New Mexico, California, and I think Colorado is involved too.
My understanding is that it's the downstream versus the upstream states who are fighting. So like us in California, who are more downstream, are fighting like Colorado, New Mexico, sort of.
Yes.
How much do we need the Colorado River to sustain ourselves?
We need it desperately.
Okay.
And I'd also like to point out that Mexico does not really receive any water from the Colorado River.
You said Mexico or New Mexico?
Mexico.
Okay. I thought we had a bunch of groundwater that we had deep in the ground.
We do, but the challenge is getting to it.
Okay.
You remember those wells that I was talking about? The wells are built and designed for where the groundwater was when they were built and designed. Mm-hmm. But the more water that we take out of it, and the more and more we have to rely on it due to the Colorado River scenario, the deeper the groundwater gets and the harder it is to reach. So it's very possible that if you had a well that was built to 500 feet and the groundwater level drops to 600 feet, that well is now useless.
Because is it easy to just dig deeper or not really?
No, because very frequently that well is cased off. The casing has a bottom. So you would have to rip all that casing out and then, put a new well down.
Okay.
So it's doable, but it's not cheap and it's not easy. That's a big chunk of what my company does here in Phoenix too. Mm-hmm. Is we are doing replacement wells for all of those wells that have just reached the end of life because they're rusting out or, they got damaged somehow or because the water has changed and they're no longer as effective.
So you're seeing some of this depletion in real time of our groundwater supply?
Yes.
Are different areas of like the Phoenix or different parts of the Phoenix area dependent more? Okay, so I mean, some people who are listening might not be from Phoenix, and so you can just say like north of the area, southern part of the area. What parts are dependent on what sources of water?
So West Valley is very groundwater focused.
Okay, so they're safer from the Colorado crisis.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So again, most of Phoenix is groundwater based. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Let me take that back. Most of Phoenix relies a lot on groundwater.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the exact percentages, but there's a lot of wells throughout the Phoenix metro. West Valley is almost all. They have a lot of wells out there, and so is the same as you make your way to the East Valley too.
Yeah.
The real problem is up north near Cave Creek.
Okay.
In Carefree.
Yeah.
The water is very deep there, and they don't have a lot of wells. They rely a lot on the Colorado River water, so they are going to be in trouble coming up.
And these are more affluent areas too.
Yes, they
That's
are.
Interesting. And there's also, I know the West Valley is seeing a lot of expansion right now with like different data centers being built and different like semiconductor things as well.
And that's going to put a big stress on the groundwater too, because they're going to need a lot of water.
Okay. When it comes to the dynamics of this fight, the federal government's pretty involved too with us and the other states.
Yes.
Are the feds just picking what kids they like the best, or how does that work?
I think they might end up having to do that. Right now, all of the states are currently negotiating, and I do not believe that the federal government is making any drastic decisions like that yet.
If it comes down to it, though, I feel like the feds are gonna like us in California more because California makes so much money. You got Hollywood. Arizona's up and coming. California's a little sister who's like more sane. Like
We can
hopefully.
hope, but it all depends on our people in Congress.
Okay, so
Call your
contact
congressman.
your representative today, and ask him or her to please get us water.
I would also like to say that Tucson, 2 hours south of Phoenix,
Yeah.
has a lot of groundwater, so they will be pretty much fine.
Okay. Flagstaff in the north, though, are they in a lot of trouble?
I haven't heard much about it. I think they'll be okay,
Yeah.
but not as good as Tucson is.
Okay.
They do get more rain and precipitation than we do, though, so they were not relying on groundwater as much.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Snow melt and all that.
Okay. Well, we need to reserve water or because I know
Conserve.
conserve. Yeah, I know most states actually they do different things to and we don't do anything. How does that work?
It's a good idea to do that at home. Yes.
But aren't there local policies where they'll either shut off your water or there's something about one side of the street supposed to water their lawn one day, other side?
There are policies like that. Yes, we're not to the point where they're shutting off people's water, but there are incentives from the various utility companies to do that, both for power and water. They can charge you different rates at peak periods and things like that.
By your prediction, how long do you think until most people in Arizona are very aware of this problem and are starting to conserve water at home? Because right now it doesn't seem like it's that widespread.
I don't want to be alarmist or anything. Nobody's going to be running out of water anytime soon.
Okay.
This is very much long-term forecasting.
Yeah.
So all of our municipal and civil authorities are trying to plan for the next decades and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Which is when the problem is really going to hit. We have enough water supplies and groundwater to be fine for the moment, and Tucson even more so. They're good for 150 years.
Well, how long are we good for?
Hard to tell, but at least 50, 60-ish.
Okay. That's enough for most people to not care.
Yeah, so because it's a little bit way off, I don't think it's going to be brought to the attention of the average person.
Yeah.
And we're not at the point where they're making people conserve water.
Yeah.
That said, the Colorado River issue is really bringing this to the forefront. So if we do end up getting a bad deal in that, I think municipalities will start telling people about this. I don't think they're going to be putting anything in place, but they'll be getting the word out.
So it's still something to be concerned about, but more so for the future.
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting. Let's move away from water and rocks, although those are two very important things, two of the classical elements, if you will. Let's do a break for me and Ben here. I'm learning how to edit now, so I'll edit so that this break never happens.
Are you going to keep this part in?
Welcome back, everybody. My dog, Russell, has decided to replace me, so he will be conducting the rest of the interview. At least he would if he were able to speak English, although I don't know if he had anything interesting to say.
This is the second time that he's been removed.
All right. Let us move on to talk about... I believe comic books are next.
You're the interviewer. You tell me.
All right, yes. Let's talk about comic books, Ben. I know you are quite interested in comic books. You've brought many to display and show off. Tell me first, why do you love comic books so much?
Comic books are unique because they have such a long, cohesive history. I really enjoy being able to have years upon years of material for a specific character. Having that character be able to interact with so many other characters, having all of the history of those interactions, and also being able to see so many authors' takes on a specific character.
So then who are some of your favorite comic book characters?
I quite enjoy reading anything Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Mr. Miracle is also a favorite, as well as Deadman and the various Green Lanterns.
Who is Mr. Miracle and Deadman? Because I know the other two.
Mr. Miracle is one of the new gods created by Jack Kirby. He is the new god of freedom, and he is a escape artist.
And what is a new god?
A new god is a species of very powerful beings that can embody concepts like, freedom. They live in a separate dimension and kind of hang out there by themselves because they are supremely powerful and do not need to concern themselves with the going-ons of mortals for the most part.
So he's a trans-dimensional cosmic embodiment of freedom who does escape art.
That's correct.
And who is Jack Kirby?
Jack Kirby is a legendary comic book writer and artist, known for creating many famous Marvel characters, most notably the Fantastic Four.
Okay, so he did not shoot Lee Harvey Oswald.
No, he did not.
Okay, good. So this would be Marvel, right? Because you said Fantastic Four.
He did a lot of original work for Marvel,
Okay.
but he had some problems with Marvel editorial, so he left and decided to create the fourth world for DC, creating Mr. Miracle in the process.
So Mr. Miracle is a DC character.
That's correct.
Okay. What's the main difference between, because these are the two biggest comic book makers, right? DC, Marvel. What are the main differences between the two?
So there's a saying that goes around, and I'll say this, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah.
That DC's characters are gods trying to be human, and Marvel's characters are humans trying to be gods.
Very interesting. Okay.
So you can break that down and say, yeah, DC characters are on average more powerful and have more fantastic adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And the point of the comics is to explore their human sides despite having all those powers.
And so, like, flesh this out in, like, the character of, like, Wonder Woman. How does she embody that?
So if you're not familiar with Wonder Woman has the general slate of superpowers. She can fly, she's super strong, she's mostly invulnerable, things of that nature, which puts her far above the regular human.
Yeah.
But a big topic of Wonder Woman is her compassion and love for all of us regular humans.
Okay.
So she is fighting as humanity's advocate, and she's able to see the love and kindness that humanity is naturally capable of, and seeks to emulate that and serve as a model of that for everyone around her.
And she has an invisible jet, right?
She does.
Now, are there different versions of Wonder Woman? Are they all the same?
So that goes to what I love about comics so much.
Yeah.
There are different versions, but it's also all kind of the same. So there is a main universe where it's been the same Wonder Woman for many, many, many years.
Okay.
Decades, in fact.
Diana Ross.
Close.
What's the in-universe name of...
Diana Prince.
Oh, okay. I
So-
was joking with Diana Ross.
Oh, I thought you were making a very sophisticated joke.
No, I just thought that's the name of the actress who played her, right? Back in the day?
No.
Okay.
That would be... Who was that?
I don't know her name, but she went to high school with my mom, so...
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's why I know about her. From Arcadia, Phoenix. Maybe it's Diane Ross or something.
No, it'll come to one of the two of us later.
Sure.
But yeah, Linda Carter.
Linda Carter. I
Linda
was very
Carter.
off. I don't even know who Diana Ross is now. But Diana Princess is...
Diana Prince.
Prince is like a Amazon warrior or something like that.
Diana Prince is Wonder Woman's human alter ego.
Okay, but isn't she originally an Amazon warrior?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Gotcha. And you said that she's mostly invincible.
Well, let's get back to the multiple versions, right?
Okay.
So it's been the same Wonder Woman for many decades, but also there's a lot of out of normal continuity stories. So
Yeah.
one of the big stories going on right now is Absolute Wonder Woman, which takes us on a journey through a alternate universe Wonder Woman, who is mostly the same but a little bit different.
Okay.
There are other out of continuity stories like Kingdom Come and Justice that all have different versions of all of your favorite characters too.
Are these all Diana Prince, or are they different women?
All of the ones that I've listed are all Diana Prince.
Okay.
But sometimes different characters take up the mantle of Wonder Woman while not being Diana Prince.
So as long as they like take on the name and kind of look like her, you can be a Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Okay.
This is very evident with Batman.
I thought it was only Bruce Wayne.
You'd think that, but what happens when Batman dies?
Batman never dies. At least not in the Christopher Nolan trilogy.
Batman dies all the time.
Actually, doesn't he die in the third movie? In Dark Knight Rises. He might not, so it's not a spoiler. You won't know. So in the comic book, he dies.
He dies at least twice.
In how? Who kills him? The Joker?
The Joker kills him the second time that I'm aware. So, again, there's a lot of comic books. I'm not fully up on every single thing that's happened. But the two times that I'm referring to are, yes, the Joker kills him in Scott Snyder's New 52 Batman run, where he's later brought back to life. And the second time is Darkseid killing him with his Omega beams. And that happens in Final Crisis.
Yeah. If I were killing God pretending to be human, which it seems like actually Bruce Wayne isn't. He might be the exception for DC, where he's a man being a god. I would probably use Omega beams, personally. Alpha beams are kind of weak.
Batman beats the Omega beams, so maybe even that's not enough.
Okay.
But yeah, so when Batman's dead, various other characters put on the cowl and become Batman.
Like who? Like Robin?
Yes,
Okay.
many former Robins have done that, most notably during this period, Dick Grayson.
Okay.
But in other alternate universes that we were talking about, different characters can put on that Batman mantle and still be Batman for that story.
Does Clark Kent, also known as Superman, ever become Batman?
No, he does not, but he pretends to be Batman very often to trick their enemies.
Oh, okay.
There's many very good stories where Superman and Batman swap positions.
Okay.
So Lex Luthor tries to get Batman pretending to be Superman with kryptonite, and it doesn't work because he's a regular guy. And Batman's various villains, shoot him or drop very heavy things on him or trap him in a cage, which Superman, pretending to be Batman, is unaffected by, and he can easily just muscle the cage apart with his super strength.
That is pretty cool. These sound like Greek myths for the modern day.
Remember, God's trying to be human.
Yeah. So you mentioned kryptonite. Let's get into the weaknesses then. So what are Wonder Woman's weaknesses?
Wonder Woman has no weakness as kryptonite does to Superman. That said, it's very often portrayed that bullets are able to injure her.
Okay.
So that's why she has her bracers most of the time to deflect the bullets.
Bracers are like the things on her wrist?
That's correct.
Are they like invisible shields? What are they?
No, they're the metal bracers that are indestructible.
Oh, okay. So as long as she gets that in front of the bullet.
It gets deflected, yes.
Yeah. Do you know about pink kryptonite? I'm assuming you do.
I'm familiar.
I only know some of the references to pink kryptonite. How does pink kryptonite work again?
Pink kryptonite, in its first appearance turns Kryptonians homosexual.
Okay. And so in the comic, it makes Superman gay.
Yes, and later it's applied to Supergirl and it makes her lesbian.
Okay. Are there other kinds of kryptonite, or is it
There's many kinds of kryptonite.
Okay, what are the different kinds of kryptonite?
There are a lot. I don't know if I'll be able to name all of them, but the ones that I can remember are gold kryptonite, which permanently takes away a Kryptonian's power.
Really?
Yes.
That's intense.
There's a blue kryptonite, a red kryptonite. Blue kryptonite, I think, only works on Bizarro.
Okay.
And there's a couple others, but I don't remember what they all do.
Who is Bizarro? Because I only know him from Seinfeld.
Bizarro is he's originally a messed up clone created by Lex Luthor when Lex Luthor, stole some of Superman's DNA. But he comes out wrong, and he always says the opposite of what he intends to say.
Okay. So if he's approaching you, he'd say goodbye. When he leaves, he says hello.
Yep.
Okay. And as Elaine says in Seinfeld, why doesn't he just say bad bye instead of goodbye?
Great question.
Okay, so you've brought many comic books here to show off. Before we have you show them off, because you have some from both universes or both publishers, which one do you prefer, DC or Marvel?
I prefer DC.
Why?
I grew up with many more of the DC characters than the Marvel characters did.
Okay.
I find the characters more compelling and the stories more interesting. And I find that DC is more willing to take risks with their characters with crazy events or those alternate universes that we talked about beforehand.
Is Spider-Man overrated? He's Marvel.
No, I love Spider-Man. He's
Good.
great.
That's the right answer. Yeah, so if you could show off some of these, I can describe them to those who are just listening. Is there a couple you can?
Okay, so I brought a couple with a specific purpose for showing them off.
Okay.
Now, when you're publishing comic books, there's a lot of ways to go about it.
Yeah.
So you can have a limited series or an ongoing series.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right. We have here a stack of comic books, the first of which says Batman Dark Patterns. Okay.
Batman Dark Patterns is a 12-issue limited series.
Mm-hmm.
So when the author set out to write Batman Dark Patterns, he knew that he would be writing only 12 issues.
Mm-hmm.
So the story was designed around that, and it is self-contained generally for limited series.
Okay.
So you'll read start to the end, you'll get a full and complete story, and that's that.
Okay.
So I can show off the rest of these covers if you'd like.
Sure. You can go through them. Is this the whole series of Batman Dark Patterns?
Yep, there's only 12
Very cool.
issues.
All right. So you have kind of an eye emerging from a bunch of fungus, it seems.
Those are nails.
Nails. Okay.
Nails hammered around an eye.
Oh, that's intense. These do seem rather dark. You have a grizzly Batman climbing up a hill or something, or being almost impaled by giant spikes. So very industrial again.
More of those nails.
All right, if you could show it to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have Batman hovering over a giant apartment building, it seems.
Yes.
So these are very industrially sort of themed.
We,
Makes sense for
in this
Gotham.
particular series, we're focusing very heavily on Batman's adventures in Gotham.
Okay.
Batman has many adventures all over the globe, whether he's with the Justice League or by himself, but
Yeah.
this is a very Gotham detective-focused story.
And DC originally stood for Detective Comics.
It still does.
I mean, it still does, but they're not. It's more superheroes now. You have Batman wandering through a maze of like a literal maze of apartment buildings, following a trail of blood. So that fits.
Now, you may notice, as I'm showing these off, there is a little text at the bottom of these.
Yeah, this one says "The Voice of the Tower" Part 2.
So there are four individual mini stories throughout these 12 issues
Mm-hmm.
that all tie together in the end.
Gotcha.
So we have Voice of the Tower Part 3.
All right, for this one, you have. It looks like Pinocchio being stabbed with like an evil Pinocchio from Shrek being stabbed with a bat, like shuriken.
Batarang.
Sorry.
That would be the character Scarface.
Okay. For this next one, it's very red and black. You just have Batman hovering over you as like a shadow, basically underneath you're like under a fire escape, and he's looking down, about to like attack you.
Mm-hmm.
This one you have also red and black, but it's like Batman with like menacing red eyes with like a newspaper kind of around him. Also, yeah, very Gotham, very kind of urban. Again, black and red. This one's simply the bat signal reflected in a pool of water with like a single drip, which is very menacing. And finally, you have Batman being like possessed. You have like his mask with like yellow smoke coming out of it. We missed the cover.
And we have two left.
This one, you just have a guy emerging from yellow flames. And this man is like the face of a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, you have a seemingly very beat up Bruce Wayne covered in yellow bandages holding the Batman suit. Most of these are making sense until the flames and the baby-faced man emerged.
So this is the Child of Fire.
Okay.
And
Is that Batman? Is he the Child of Fire?
no, the baby-faced guy in the suit is the Child of Fire.
And that's not Batman.
That's not Batman.
Okay.
That's the villain for this particular arc.
Okay. Does each arc
And-
have its own villain?
Yes. And since this is the last arc, he's the villain of the whole series.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So yeah, these are very dark, very grim. Do you have a couple Marvel ones to show off as well?
I have one Marvel one to show off, but
Sure.
let me show off an ongoing series now.
Okay. This is a Marvel series.
This is a DC series.
Oh, Birds of Prey. Okay.
This is a DC series, in case that didn't come through. Yes, Birds of Prey. So, as you can see, a lot more issues in this one.
It's about, what, 20, 25? See?
28.
There you go.
So,
Is this one not, so it's not limited by any number?
it's not limited. Well, it's not limited. So, when the author set out to write and draw for the different authors and artists, so when the author and artist set out to create this, they did not know how many issues they were going to make.
Yeah.
And so they just have an ongoing story until they run out of ideas or it gets canceled by editorial.
Yeah.
In this case, they ran out of ideas.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so there are many series that are ongoing at all of the time that you can walk into your comic shop and just buy issues off the shelf. Or you can create what's called a pull list. And every time that comes out, the guy at the comic shop will get you an issue, and then you can get it for that month when it releases.
For most of these ongoing series, like, can I just, like, open up number 5 and it makes sense, or do I have to start from the start?
You can open up number 5 and it will make sense.
Okay.
We will talk more about this later because it's a big point that I want to make.
Okay. Very cool.
So yeah, you can buy, these are all single issues, so you buy them and read them throughout the course.
Yeah.
I will be setting aside this one for future reference
Okay. Interesting.
because that will be important later.
Very cool. And Birds of Prey is about, like, female villains in the DC universe. Right?
Female superheroes. It's a female-only superhero team.
Okay.
Usually headed by Black Canary, who we can see on this cover, and often accompanied by Batgirl/Oracle and various other characters. The roster changes throughout the course of the book, too, so people join and leave the
But
group.
that's Harley Quinn. That's Joker's girlfriend. She's bad.
You would think that, but Harley Quinn, and again, this is why I like about DC, they're willing to change up the status quo for some characters. So Harley Quinn is becoming more of an anti-hero, or hero even.
Is that because of how popular she is? People are shifting. Okay, so you can actually cheer for her.
That's
more
correct,
easily?
yes. Yep.
Gotcha.
So we're not going to go through every cover here, but that's a good example of a ongoing series. This series has since concluded,
Okay.
but it was ongoing at the time. So it ended at 28 issues.
Did it have a good ending, or was it kind of?
It had a good ending.
Okay. Good.
Yep.
Okay.
It was not canceled. It was not canceled in the middle, so
That's
the
good.
author was able to end it how she wanted.
Okay. And then you have a Marvel thing or
Yes,
a few to show off.
Yep. So, another example of an ongoing series, but this time, instead of single issues, it is in a trade paperback.
Those are it's a lot thicker than a normal comic book.
It holds 6 individual issues.
And do they come out serially and then you get them all in the big paperback, or is it just come? Okay.
That's correct, yes. So, when they come out as a single issues, the company will eventually collect them into these trade paperbacks. I have 3 here from Ultimate Spider-Man, which represents 18 issues.
And what makes them so ultimate in this?
In this scenario, this is a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
So Marvel does do it on occasion,
Yeah.
but they did not really succeed. So most of the titles except Ultimate Spider-Man did not do well.
Okay.
And the whole Ultimate line is being wrapped up
Gotcha.
in a way that most people are unhappy with.
Is this still the main Spider-Man, Peter Parker?
No, it is not.
Okay. Is that something people don't like?
People actually really liked it at first because what's happening to the main Peter Parker, the fans do not appreciate.
Okay.
He's been broken up from Mary Jane.
Hmm.
He's kind of having a bunch of the same troubles that he usually does. People want to see something new.
Gotcha.
So in this one, he gets married to Mary Jane and has kids.
Okay. So it's still Peter Parker, but
It's still Peter Parker, but a different
version.
version of him.
If you've seen the Spider-Verse movies, that kind of makes more sense conceptually.
There you go.
And
Exactly
I'm
like
assuming
that.
those movies are deriving a lot from the comic books of having these different universes. And,
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
you know. And what's that other book you have down there?
We're going to be getting to that in a minute.
Okay.
But yeah, so both limited series and ongoing series are collected in trade paperbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to keep up with the single issues, you can stop in and get a book version to keep up with your favorite series.
Very cool. That's wonderful. I do love Spider-Man, especially because He has my name.
That's something.
Yeah, for those listening, my name is not actually Jack, even though that's the theme of the podcast. I'm Peter.
I believe you introduced yourself as Peter, too.
It's true.
So, the last one that I have is Justice League versus Suicide Squad. And this is also a trade paperback, even though it's hardcover, but, they still call them that. But the important thing about this is that this is an event and a crossover.
Okay.
So, what the comic companies really like to do is they take two ongoing titles and cross them over so that characters from either one can appear in both, and there's a ongoing story between the two titles.
Okay. And the Suicide Squad
is villains.
And that's like the Joker and all those guys.
Not traditionally the Joker, but he does show up.
Okay.
In this instance, Harley Quinn is on the Suicide Squad, so she is acting as a villain.
And the Justice League wins, I'm hoping, at the end.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes, they do.
Very cool.
But yeah, so you would have, one issue would be Justice League. That's the first part of the story. The next issue would be an issue of Suicide Squad. That'd be the second part. And, so on and so forth. With characters from the Justice League title appearing in the Suicide Squad title. And, vice versa.
Very cool. That's, yeah.
This also has a very nice cover design for the hardcover, aside from the slipcover.
So the cover is,
and it's
like a bunch of just a very epic fight.
Yeah.
Superman and the Flash and all these people punching the bad guys.
And it wraps around.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
So there you go.
Very exciting. Can we talk about the one you set aside now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Now I'm very curious.
So, I collect my comics to read. That's not the case for some people, and I think that's a crazy statement.
What, that it's bad to collect them to sell? I'm assuming that's the other reason.
That's the other reason.
Resell.
Some people collect them to resell.
Okay.
Yeah, or for monetary value.
And you think that's bad?
I don't think that it's bad, but I don't personally care for it.
Okay.
I don't really care if somebody sells it, but I would hope that they would read it first at least. But a lot of people don't even bother reading it, just, collect it for its monetary value.
And do these generally appreciate over time? Is it just depend on the comic book?
It depends on the specific comic book and the context surrounding it. So if you pick up a random issue off of your local comic store shelf, probably will be worthless in a couple years.
Okay.
So there's a strategy to picking which ones you think are going to appreciate in value.
Yeah.
But part of this is variant covers. So,
Where they just give it a different cover than they normally do?
that's correct.
And that simply because of the resellers or because the fans actually want cool covers?
Both. But sometimes it's geared toward the fans, like this example of Birds of Prey. So these are both issue 28.
Now describe the two different covers to us, because these are quite different from each other.
Yes, they are. So both have a sweets and ice cream theme. In the traditional cover, the Birds of Prey team is getting ice cream from an ice cream truck. And in the second one, they are making and baking cakes and cookies. While it has a different artist, so the art style is much cuter.
Okay. It looks almost Japanese in the kind of way that they're doing it.
I believe the artist was emulating that, yes.
Yeah, very cool.
But the variant cover costs more and also has the original cover underneath it. It's also thicker paper, too.
Is that, and I'm assuming it's worth more than the normal cover?
You have to pay more for it, but
Yeah.
this is an example of it being for the fans, and the fans, want different covers. So these are probably not worth anything.
Okay. You were setting up as if you had $100
No, I do not.
there.
No, but variant covers are a big part of the people who collect covers for resale value, or collect comics for resale value. Sorry.
Are these limited edition? You can only have so many.
Some of them are, yes, and because you have to specifically ask your comic guy to get one for you, so you cannot usually walk into a store and buy a variant cover off the shelf. So
Gotcha.
they are rare because of that. And some of them are what they call ratio variants, so they only make one of the variant for every 50 issues
Sure.
that they sell or whatever else.
Okay.
So
That's
those
pretty cool.
those are the ones that tend to be more for popular series.
Now I do have a final question about comic books. Is there anything else you want to say before I ask it?
Yeah. So as of right now, and this is just my piece, so bear with me, Peter.
Yeah.
But manga is really popular in the United States.
Yeah.
Primarily
Manga being Japanese.
Japanese
comic
comics,
books,
yes.
yeah.
So primarily because, and this is my opinion here, there is a definitive start and end point.
Okay.
So what I love about comics is that you can jump in wherever, like we
Yeah.
said. You can grab issue number 5 off the shelf and read it and be totally cool.
Yeah.
A lot of consumers in America don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And these are non-comic book fans. They don't like that you can start wherever you want. They want a definitive start and an end in a contained story like that, instead of a story that goes for however long people want to read it,
Yeah.
like the ongoing series. So DC is making efforts to try and do that to their various comic books. So more limited series
Yeah.
and releasing limited series in book form, like manga is in the United States. They have a current line called Compact Comics that are like that, and those are selling crazily.
Are these just about the standard heroes? Or these...
They're about the standard heroes, but because of how DC is marketing them and collecting them in the book form and being like, hey, this is a defined, self-contained story, you'll get a good experience.
Yeah.
People are buying them, and it's making them a lot of money.
Okay. And you think that's bad?
I am just happy that it is getting people to read comic books.
Okay.
But it does not showcase the parts of comics that I particularly enjoy. So,
Gotcha. Are these selling, like reselling? Are they big on the compact ones, or reselling mainly doing?
reselling is mainly for the other ones. Compacts do not resell well
Yeah.
because they are mass produced and very easy to get.
Yeah, and more so for people that actually just enjoy
reading.
Assuming they're
yes.
less artsy covers.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, and they're in book form, so
Yeah. Okay. Well, my final question then about comic books, you mentioned at the start, it's either gods trying to be human or humans trying to be gods. But giving some examples or just like a general overview, how do comics explore the human condition?
well, I think that you said earlier that it kind of is like Greek myths, right?
Yeah.
I would agree. They even refer to stuff like the Batman mythos because Batman just kind of exists in the public consciousness.
Yeah.
Even if you've never read a Batman comic or seen a Batman movie, a good chunk of Americans will know what Batman looks like and the very, very rough edges of his origin story.
Okay.
So these characters just kind of exist in the culture, and that's powerful in it of itself.
Okay.
And like you said, they can explore the human condition. Batman is a human with no powers, like all of us. So everybody through that can relate to Batman at least a little bit. He has a lot of trauma, which he tries to deal with. Many people can relate to that as well.
Yep.
And the ways in which he does that are very engaging to read about and do explore the human condition in the various ways that we all can react to various things in our lives.
So if someone were wanting to get into comic books, and either we're looking at Batman in particular, or maybe just a new that you'd recommend, what would be a good series starting point for them to like pull off a library shelf? Or go talk to their comic book guy?
You should go talk to your comic book guy first off. He will direct you in the right direction. But the compact comics are excellent starting points. So go get one of a character that you just like.
Okay.
They are specifically designed for new readers. It's a good story. You're not going to be lost anywhere. And if you like that, go to your store and pull off of the shelf the series of the character that you like.
Very cool.
Batman's always a good starting place, so any of his titles.
Yeah.
And right now they're focusing very heavily on Superman and Supergirl.
Because of the new movies.
New movies coming out. So they have a lot of titles, and those are very high quality.
Are you excited for the Supergirl movie?
No.
Okay. By the time this comes out, it will have been released maybe a week or so ago.
Yeah.
But at least leading up to it, Ben, why are you not excited for Supergirl?
I was not impressed with how she was portrayed in the Superman movie.
Okay.
It's not the portrayal of the character that I appreciate.
So in the books, she's different.
She's different, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, that's different versions of all of the characters that we were talking about.
Okay.
Movie Supergirl is different than comic book Supergirl. That's different than maybe animated show Supergirl.
Yeah.
And having all those different versions appeals to a lot of people. So
Okay.
if I don't like movie Supergirl, I still have comic Supergirl. But somebody may not like comic Supergirl, but they enjoy movie Supergirl.
Okay. Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah.
We have, I believe our next topic is the parks. Yeah. So I gave you a list of stuff I wanted to talk about, and I was like, I knew you're into geology and comics and such, and so I suggested those. You suggested a couple additional topics at the end, one of which was national park properties.
Yes.
Tell us about national park properties, Ben.
So, you may be aware of America's national parks. There are 63 of them, and these are ones that everybody's familiar with. You know, things like Yellowstone, Yosemite, the Smoky Mountains, the Rocky Mountains, Arches, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the National Park Service also has a bunch of other properties, the national park properties, that protect battlefields and monuments and historical sites and trails and all kinds of various things like that.
So like Gettysburg, Lincoln Memorial, these are all national park properties.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So they're still operated by the
like the
National
Gateway
Parks.
Arch.
Let's get to that. So these are all operated by the National Park Service.
Correct.
So even like the Washington Monument and stuff. It's
Absolutely, the Washington
so there's
Monument.
park rangers and stuff there, right? And
Yes.
So that makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay, so the Gateway Arch would be a national park property.
It used to be the Jefferson National Expansion Memorial.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. Makes
So
sense.
that would be a national park property as a memorial.
Because it was memorializing the expansion of the country by Thomas Jefferson.
Correct.
With the Louisiana Purchase and
Yes.
and all that from Napoleon. Okay, so it used to be, and then what happened?
Now it is Gateway Arch National Park
But if it's still owned by NPS, why does that matter?
because it's a national park, and that just sounds better than a national memorial.
So does it actually change anything practically? It just puts
No.
it on the big list.
Yes.
But Gateway Arch is like, it's a building. It's
Yeah.
not like Yellowstone that's like, miles upon miles.
You're correct.
So
It does not deserve to be a national park because of that. There are a couple other there's the grounds of the Gateway Arch that's included in the property, and they have a couple other buildings and nice parks within the city of St. Louis that are part of Gateway Arch National Park. But the scope and scale is not equal to many of the other national parks.
and you're proudly from the area, but you're promoting a downgrade.
Yes, I think it's much more effective as a national memorial
Why?
because it memorialized the westward expansion. As a national park, it doesn't really do that, and that's not in the name anymore.
Okay. Because a park, you just don't think of like a building.
Yeah,
It's just
well,
improper.
the parks everybody thinks of as natural wonders, which they are.
Mm-hmm.
But the Gateway Arch is not a natural wonder.
Do you know the process, like what happened that made it a national park? It was just
I believe it was. I don't know that this is true, but I'm pretty sure it was kind of like a senatorial thing.
Okay.
Like some senator wanted to upgrade it to a national park for a vote on something else.
and it's our smallest national park, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I've been up the Gateway Arch. As someone who's afraid of heights, especially the elevator ride up, it's very scary.
The elevator does not go vertical.
Yeah, which is terrifying. It's like Willy Wonka up in there, and it's intimidating and terrifying. It's also really cramped up at the top of the arch.
Yes, it is.
It's like they can't fit that many people up there.
Yeah, they limit how many people can go up because of the space.
Like how many? Is it like a dozen or two?
I believe it's 20-ish.
Okay. And is that why you wanted to talk about national park properties? Was the arch or?
No, I care a lot about the national park properties aside from the arch, but that's just a very good example.
Okay. Then what else do you have to say or show off about the properties?
Well, so everybody thinks of the national parks for their natural wonder, which is awesome. There's a lot of good natural beauty in the United States, and the parks protect that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot in this country that's also worth protecting and memorializing, such as Golden Spike National Monument.
What is that?
That would be the meeting of the Transcontinental Railroad
Oh, in Utah.
in
right?
Utah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Promontory.
Promontory Point.
Promontory Point. I got that because I teach history as a job, so I'm glad I got that.
Yeah.
Um,
Or George Rogers Clark National Historical Park.
And these are all national park properties.
These are all national park properties.
And so are you hoping that people can be more aware that, like...
Yes, I want to talk about this to make people more aware of this. There are other cool areas around the country that are not just the national parks. Go and visit your national park properties because it's really cool. It's at the same level of quality as the national parks because it's still managed by the National Park Service.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll learn all kinds of things that you didn't learn in school by visiting these places.
Because you go to, like, Yosemite and stuff, and you see these beautiful things and everything, but the history is not that.
The history is not usually represented in the national parks themselves.
Okay.
It's all of the park properties where that is protected and interpreted.
And so if someone's from the Phoenix area, where would you recommend they go? At least, like, locally or at least on the states nearby? What would be some good properties?
A very good, the good recommendation nearby to the Phoenix area would be Tonto National Monument.
Okay.
Out in Roosevelt, Arizona.
Okay. What is there?
That is a Native American cliff dwelling.
Okay. That's very cool.
So you can hike up to it and explore the cliff dwelling that they have. They have two. One of them, I think, is special request only. And it's only open certain times of the season. But the other one you can go whenever it's open.
Montezuma's Castle is also...
Yes, it is. We have a lot of good Native American architecture here. So Montezuma's Castle, Tootsie Goot as well.
Because I took some students on a field trip to Montezuma's Castle, and there was a park ranger in the front. And I guess I just assumed everything was just a national park, and that there was just different sizes. But no, you have, like, the canonical 63, which is a current number.
Yes.
Under the recent edition of the Gateway Arch.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, I'm assuming, hundreds, if not thousands of...
I believe it's 400 something
400,
of
wow.
the other properties.
Very cool. Okay. What's your all-time favorite national park property? Assuming we don't count the Gateway Arch under your own headcanon.
Yes. So I'm going to have to narrow it down to two. And specifically, these ones are special to me. It would be George Rogers Clark National Historical Park.
Okay.
And Paul Laurence Dunbar, which is part of the Dayton Aviation Heritage Parks.
And why are those two your favorite?
They are...
What are they? And
So the George Rogers Clark is just a marble rotunda, but it has a lot of interpretive material about what George Rogers Clark accomplished in his campaign in the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
And I did not learn about that in school, so being able to go there, read about it, and be able to see the places where he fought all of those battles was fantastic for me. And it informed a lot about why I love the rest of the park properties, was that one memorable experience.
So people should definitely go there and get the full story, but what are, like, some highlights
Yes.
that you can point out for what he did? If you can
So
remember.
the big story about George Rogers Clark is that he conquered a lot of territory during the Revolutionary War on the frontier, which was at the time in the western side of Indiana.
Okay.
And that led to the United States getting a lot of extra land during the treaty to end the Revolutionary War, which
Okay.
I believe was a Treaty of Paris.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the, like, 100.
Yeah, the many of them that there are. So yeah, they were able to point to the work that George Rogers Clark did on the frontier, which got us so much extra land on the conclusion of the Revolutionary War.
So he conquered the Wild Wild West when that was Indiana.
Yes, he did.
Okay. And what was the other national park property?
Paul Laurence Dunbar.
And who was he? What did he do?
His house. He was a famous American poet,
Okay.
and he was good friends with the Wright brothers.
Okay. And is his house in Ohio or North Carolina?
It is in Ohio, yes.
Okay. Because they are from Ohio, even if they flew in
And
Carolina.
he gets folded into the Wright brothers. That the main park there is to memorialize them.
Okay.
But he's also there because
The main park property there.
Yes, the main park property there was to memorialize them, but he's also there because he's a part of their story. They ran printing services, and he got a lot of his publications printed by them.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
So
and
this,
it's just memorialized very well, and that is a part of American history that I never expected to find in the National Park Service. Because
cool.
I was familiar with him before I visited, and just being able to see that and see where he lived and wrote was phenomenal.
So go and visit your national park properties wherever is local to you. Speaking of poetry, let's get into our last topic, unless there's anything else to say about the properties.
No, I do not. That's my pitch. Go see him.
Tell us about poetry, Ben.
Poetry. So I brought a book with me by Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Wow, okay. There you go. This is a thick book.
It is his complete poetical works.
Okay. So it looks like it's a black cover with the title The Life and Works of Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's about 300, 400 pages, perhaps.
Yeah, roughly.
Tell us about it.
So this work is now public domain.
Mm-hmm.
And this specific volume that I have is I think it's a published text from the time that he was writing.
Sure.
So as you can see here, it's got the old print style and old black and white photographs
Yes,
in it.
it looks like it was made with like a
yes.
What would you call it? Like a printing press?
A printing press, yep.
Yeah.
Maybe even the one,
and all that.
maybe even one that the Wright brothers did, but
Okay.
who's to say?
Who's to say?
Yes, old typeface. That's the word for it.
Yeah.
Paul Laurence Dunbar was an African-American poet who was writing before the Harlem Renaissance really took off.
Okay.
And he is most notable for writing in dialect.
Okay.
So the dialect used by the enslaved African-Americans at the time. Paul Laurence Dunbar was the enslaved African-Americans at the time and a little bit previous.
And he's writing over, I'm assuming decades, but what's his like time frame?
Yes. We can look here. I believe it is 1830s to a little bit later than that, but
But he was not contemporaneous with the Wright brothers.
he was. So I might have had my years wrong.
Yeah. The Wright brothers would have first flown in 1901?
Yes. I was incorrect. This is 1890s.
Okay. But he's writing in Ohio. He knows them.
Yes, and then he later moved to New England after his work with the Wright brothers.
Does he write about planes?
No, he does not.
Yeah. What does he write about? More important things?
He basically writes about the African American condition at the time.
Okay.
So, yes, he wrote in dialect, which he was very famous for.
Yeah.
But he was also writing in just very standard verse for the time, which got a lot less recognition when he was writing, but has since become more appreciated after his death.
And so did he know the people in the Harlem Renaissance? Was he talking to like Langston Hughes?
Many of them were influenced by him.
Okay.
But he was writing at the wrong time for him to be part of that movement.
So he's a precursor to the Harlem Renaissance.
Yes.
Which is a very important movement, and you can go and see his house in Ohio on a national park property.
Yep.
Very cool. Do you have anything else to share about poetry?
I do, but I want to give everybody a taste of what Paul Laurence Dunbar's dialect sounds like.
Sure.
So you'll have to give me a moment while I find the particular poem that I'm thinking of.
You're all good.
But
for those who aren't familiar with the Harlem Renaissance, so in the 1920s, the African American community in Harlem, New York, had a big renaissance of like a literary movement. Different poetry was being produced. I sadly never studied too much of them in school. But if you've ever read like Langston Hughes, what's the other, like Zelda Hurston, I think is a big one.
Zelda Neale Hurston?
Yeah, Zelda Neale Hurston is a big author from that time.
Yep.
Mainly poetry.
A lot of poetry, but I believe there's also musical works and plays.
Yeah, a lot of African American stuff culturally kind of comes back from there.
Yes.
And then apparently even earlier with this guy.
Yep.
So yeah, if you could read some Dunbar for us.
Okay, so this is how it is written. You can take a look here, Peter.
Okay, so it's in what I would expect.
Yes, it is written in dialect. So I'm reading it as it's written, but
in the old typeface.
In the old typeface. This poem is called "The Tryst." De night creep down erlong de land, de shadders rise and shake. De frog is starting up his band, de cricket is awake. My work is mostly done, Celeste. Tonight I won't be late. I's hurryin' through my level best, wait for me by de gate. De mockingbird'll send his glee a thrillin' two and two. I know dat old magnolia tree is smellin' This just for you. The jasmine aside the road is bloomin' rich and white. My heart's a throbbing 'cause it knowed you'd wait for me tonight. Hit's lonesome, ain't it, standin' there with no one nigh to talk? But ain't there whispers in the air along the garden walk? Don't something kin'll call my name and say he love you best? Hit's true I wants to say the same, so wait for me, Celeste. Sing something for to pass the time, outsing the mockingbird. You got the music and the rhyme, you beat 'em with the word. I's comin' now, my work is done, the hour has come for rest. I wants to fly, but only run. Wait for me, dear Celeste.
Very nice. Very beautiful.
So, quite a poignant poem, but it's written in a way that we don't speak anymore.
Yeah.
And the fact that he took the care and time to write it like that, instead
Especially
of
back in the 1890s.
yes, instead of the proper words for that, and then have it read pronounced like that, is quite significant.
Are people like modern day poetry, history people, are they aware of him? Is he more obscure?
He is definitely a more obscure poet.
Okay. Do you only know about him because you visited the park property? Or?
No, you'll recall that I knew about him before I visited his house.
Okay.
I was very big into poetry in high school, and he was one of the poets that I just chanced upon because they had some books of his in the school library.
Wonderful, wonderful.
It was truly delightful.
Hopefully he can be introduced into more school curriculum so you can actually see him there.
That'd be nice, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about him on this podcast, to get the word out.
All right.
The last part about poetry that I would like to say is that poetry is at its most powerful when it has its limits. It's meter and verse.
You're not a big free verse guy.
I don't like free verse, and I don't like blank verse.
Why?
Because it doesn't have limits. I feel that the poet can become more creative by trying to work around the restrictions of meter and verse and coming up with something that's beautiful in spite of those, and that becomes unique to the poet once accomplished.
Yeah, when I've written poetry before, either for like school or for a girl I'm trying to impress, it always is more difficult to do the constraints of the meter and the verse, but it's also a lot more fun. It's like a puzzle you're trying to solve.
It's more fun and more rewarding, and that makes you think about it more.
Yeah.
Which in turn makes it a better poetical work.
And you can tell when like someone did a good job at it versus a bad job. Like that rhyme is kind of lame. Whereas with free verse, you can't really, or blank verse, you can't do like too much of a poor job. I mean, you can still make it sound not that interesting, but you can't like mess up the blank verse because it is blank.
Correct. And personally, I find it hard to make yourself stand out and be fully understood in blank or free verse.
Okay. Very cool.
So that's what I have to say about poetry.
That's lovely, Ben. To wrap up, I want like a fun question to ask at the end of the podcast. I'm still figuring out what that is, so if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments, either in the Spotify or the YouTube comments. I thought maybe, what's your favorite thing at Costco? But not everyone's been to Costco or holds a membership, sadly. Can't really do that.
Yeah, that's my bad.
No, you're all good. Many people are not yet aware of the gospel of Costco, at least not enough to actually go there. However, I do have a serious question I want to end every podcast with as well, and I do know what that is, which is just what's one piece of life advice you have for anybody listening to this podcast, Ben?
My one piece of life advice is that you need to find something to do with yourself and work toward.
Okay.
Maybe that's your work, your employment. Maybe that's a hobby. But I've found that I get very restless when I have too much just free time.
Yeah.
So having a job that I like and hobbies that can, keep me mentally stimulated gives a good structure and purpose to my life. So it doesn't have to be anything huge. Maybe it's, volunteering somewhere. Maybe, you really do like your job. You're teaching, and that you find that very rewarding.
Yep.
But I would very much caution you against, don't sit at home all the time watching TV.
Sure.
Always have something that you can work toward like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's especially true in your 20s. We're both gentlemen in our 20s, basically the same age, mid-20s. And the way that your 20s are conceived of nowadays, it's kind of like an extended, like, teenage years. Like, college is already like that, and, like, colleges can very much infantilize you if you're too reliant on everyone still doing all your stuff for you and you're just there for classes and partying. But even in your 20s post-college, people nowadays see it as like, oh, it's just more time to party, to just do whatever you want, not have anything tying you down. And not that, like, those things are inherently bad, at least in small doses. But if you just have an additional 10 years of your life where you're kind of just listless and not doing anything to actually grow as a person.
Yes, you need to have some structure in your life, and it can be very dangerous to just do whatever you want.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Ben.
Especially when whatever you want is undefined.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, people can think that they're free if they can do whatever they want.
Yes.
But if they can't, if they're not growing as a person and they're just doing whatever seems most interesting to them at the moment, they're the most reactionary. They're just reacting to whatever is popping up as interesting to them.
The problem comes when it's in the moment.
Yeah, the free man actually like chooses and then like grows in that, right?
Exactly correct.
Chooses what's best for him and grows in that sense. Well, I have a tradition I want to do for all my in-person guests at the end of each episode.
Oh, fantastic.
So the theme of the podcast, right, is that you want a deck full of jacks, a deck of all jacks, where you have a bunch of jacks of a couple of trays each to tell you about different stuff, whether it's geology or water systems or comic books or poetry or national park properties. So I have here a jack card that I'm going to have Ben sign, and I'll hang it up on set behind us, along with his copper rock.
Fantastic.
So thank you so much for coming on today, Ben.
Just across the full thing?
However you want to do it, yeah, just across the white part of the card. This is a jack of spades, which I believe is the suit used in the logo of the podcast, so it's very fitting that our first guest is doing that. So, all right.
Oops.
There you go, everybody. Well, again, thank you so much, Ben, for coming on to our inaugural episode of A Deck of All Jacks. You can find us on Spotify and on YouTube. Please comment below if there's anything that you want to see in future episodes, any conversations talked about, any topics you'd like me to cover. This is solely something I'm doing for fun, just for friends and family to see. So shout out to all my friends and family who not only clicked this link when I sent them the link, but also listened through the whole thing, either because they wanted to support me, or they were bored, or they thought Ben was genuinely interesting, which I feel like the latter will be a lot of people because we've talked about a lot of varied and interesting things today, Ben.
Yep.
So I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
Yeah. All right. Well, you can find more episodes, again, on Spotify and YouTube, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
You're really going after it, huh? Smells like dog.